Hello everybody and welcome back to another toy review. So in today's video I'm going to be reviewing not one but two toy trucks today. So today I'm going to be reviewing the 1996 Wilco truck and helicopter and the 1996 Servco truck and helicopter. A double review. The reason why I'm reviewing both in one video is partly because these two are basically exactly the same truck, but also there's one more reason that I'll get to later in the video. So, if I've told you about this before, I've been telling you about Servco a lot in recent videos. Wilco was also a gas station company that was a business partner with Hess. Both Wilco and Servco were. They were both North Carolina-based companies, and they both had their fuel supplied to them by Hess through a fuel terminal that was actually owned by Hess. Yes, and because they were partners, they both got permission to sell the exact same trucks as Hess just a year later and with their name and color scheme on them. So these two trucks are both identical to the 1995 Hess truck and helicopter, and they're both identical to each other except for the name and the color scheme. All right, so let's get into the review. All right, so let's have a look at the packaging here. So on top here it says Wilco toy truck and helicopter, and it's got 3 Energizer batteries, real head and tail lights, and operating helicopter rotors and lights. And you can see we just got a shot of the truck here in this sort of reddish background. Servco truck's basically the same, only it's got the Servco logo and more of a bluish background. Both boxes have a shot of the side of the truck here. Unlike the previous Servco trucks that I reviewed. Sorry, this is not a photograph. This is actually like an artist's rendition, though. The fronts of the boxes both have the front of the truck. The backs both have the back of the truck. And on the bottom here, we get some special instructions on how to replace the batteries in the truck and how to turn on the lights, as well as how to use the ramp on the back. Alright, now for the unboxing. So if we open these flaps here, the truck pulls out here. Oops. Sorry. It all slides out. Oops, excuse me, sorry about that. You got this protective cardboard piece right there. This bottom piece. And the helicopter actually comes in this box here. Open this up, remove it, and there we go. Included, we also get this instruction card right here. This shows you how to replace the batteries on the helicopter and activate the lights and rotors on it. Both trucks come packaged the same way and have the same battery instruction card. All right, so now let's get into the review. So let's take a look at the detail itself on the truck. So, should we start with the truck or the helicopter? Let's start with the helicopter. Okay. Alright, so for now I'll be using the Servco one for this part of the review. The detail on both trucks is identical, pretty much. So, if we look here at the helicopter, you can see that we've got the access door on the side with a large window in it. It's got a Servco logo right there. We got this nice red stripe along the side with a big Servco logo and gasoline. You've got the landing gear here. If we look on the front, we can see the windshield, which is split into several pieces. We got these two sections right there, and that. These are just opaque black. You can't see through them, and that makes sense with all the electronics that are inside of this thing. We've also got this searchlight down here, which I'll get to in a little bit. On the other side, it's basically the same. Probably the one noticeable difference is the obvious screw holes on there. On the 2006 Hess truck and helicopter, those were actually covered up with little like rubber plugs, which actually makes it look a lot cleaner. Here's the tail fin, and we've got the tail rotor inside of there. Not much to see on the back. On the undercarriage, you can see it says Servco 1996 on there. The Wilco one does the same, only it says Wilco 1996. And of course, Wilco logos in place of the Servco ones. So I think styling-wise, this is what would be classified as more of like a civilian helicopter or a news helicopter. I could maybe see these being used in police forces like light-duty ones, but this is definitely like a smaller helicopter. Hess would later issue some helicopters that were more bigger and heavier duty, more like military-style helicopters, but this is definitely more of like a civilian helicopter. Smaller helicopter. Alright, so now let's take a look at the big guy, the truck itself. So on the front of the truck here, we've got the big bold front grille with the Servco logo embossed in it. We've got this front bumper here, which has clearance lights on it. We've got the headlights with the high and low beams, the turn signals up on the fenders, the split windshield, the clearance lights up on the roof cap, and the air horns, as well as the side mirrors. We've also got air cleaners here on the front as well. Okay, so here's a look at the driver's side of the truck cab. There's those air cleaners again and the side mirrors. We've got the door molded in. No door handle, unfortunately, though. We got like a molded in grab iron for climbing in. More clearance lights back here on the roof cap, and what looks like another turn signal maybe or something right there. We got the fuel tank here with the steps for climbing up inside. The mudguard fender right there. And on the trailer part here, we've actually got lots more clearance lights on there. We got a big Servco logo, and we got this red stripe that runs along the side of the cab. I like that it has like pinstriping alongside it, and it also kind of flows right into the trailer. It's at about the same level. So on the side of the trailer, we got a Servco logo right there. We got the stripe with the pinstriping that runs alongside. We got gasoline right there in big letters. More clearance lights running along the side, and we got this sort of chrome sort of band on the fenders in the bottom of the trailer. On the back of the trailer, we've got the ramp right here. We've got the tail lights, the license plate, which says Servco 1996 on it. We've got the chrome rear bumper. We got a big Servco logo in here. Wilco one looks the same, only we've got Wilco 1996 and Wilco logo. Other side of the truck looks pretty much the same. Other side of the truck is actually quite detailed too. If we look here, we can see we got molded in, we got the front suspension, the whole engine, the transmission and drivetrain, sorry. Other side of the truck is actually quite detailed too. We've got the molded in suspension, front suspension detail. We got the engine and transmission and drivetrain detail, the rear differentials, drive shafts. Yeah, this thing's actually quite detailed on the underside. The trailer also has some detailing with the molded in leaf spring suspension, as well as just these sort of like ridges. I don't know what those are for, but they just kind of add some texture to the bottom. Again, the tires are rubber. They got tread on them, they got some flex to them, and they also say Hess on them too. Again, because these were made from the existing Hess truck molds, and they didn't bother to change the name on there when they made these. And we got more of those chrome 3-spoke Dayton wheels. On top of the truck here, we've got Wilco and Servco logos for each one on the roof caps, and same on top of the trailer. And what's interesting is on the back they have what looks like a landing pad for the helicopters. But what's funny is that unfortunately I do not have an example of the 1995 Hess truck at the moment, but it has an H in here which I guess that could be for Hess, but also most helicopter pads generally would have an H on them anyway for helicopter. On here, they put an S for Servco and a W for Wilco. I mean, I get that, Servco and Wilco, but it kind of looks weird. I almost see a helicopter pad with an S or a W on it. I almost think they should have left the H just because that's what real helicopter pads would have had. Oh, and I forgot to mention, while this side of the truck the passenger side does look basically the same as the other side, it also has an exhaust stack, which the other one does not have. No dual exhaust on this truck. And unlike the helicopter, the truck does have see-through windows and a detailed cabin interior with a chrome steering wheel and seats in there. All in all, these are some very nicely detailed toys right here. Alright, now I'm going to be taking a look at the features of this toy. I'm going to be using the Wilco one mostly for this segment of the video, and I'll explain that in a moment. So, on the boxes for these trucks, it said includes Energizer batteries, but of course these toys being from 1996 no longer have the original batteries in them, so I'm going to need to battery these things up before we can show the features. Alright, so the truck itself takes 2 C batteries. I'm not using Energizer ones, but let's go ahead and install these. So you just push that latch to open the battery compartment, no screws required, and you just install the batteries just like that. Just close it up, and there you go. The helicopter, on the other hand, takes a single AA battery, but it does have a screw, unlike the truck. So I'm going to need a screwdriver to loosen this. And what you do is you actually sort of... Oh, I didn't get it all the way out. Oh, there you go. It actually, it fits in here with the tabs. Like, the tabs fit into the side, and the screw holds it in on this side. So you just install a AA battery, just like that. And stick that back in there. And then tighten the screw. And you're all set. Alright, so the truck itself rolls, obviously. It actually rolls very nicely and smoothly, and it's nice and quiet because of the rubber tires. And yes, the truck cab does pivot roughly about 180 degrees. It doesn't really go more. This one's kind of restricted, but that's fine. Now, the truck and trailer do not detach, and again, like I said in my Servco tanker truck review video, that's because there are wires running through the fifth wheel connection that make the lights in the cab of the truck work. On the back of the truck, we have this ramp that pulls out. You just pull it till it pops and slide it out. And the helicopter actually has little wheels on the bottom of the landing gear, so you can kind of roll it around, and you can sort of roll it up onto the ramp or roll it off. But funny thing is, well, actually, oh yeah, when you excuse me for a second, when you roll it off the ramp, the tail actually hits the ground, and then this drop. So it's a little, that part's a little unrealistic. It doesn't exactly work the best, but it's still kind of cool. Also, the nice thing about having the ramp is you could also use this to carry other toy vehicles, and you could roll other things on and off of the back of the truck as well. The truck also has these little indentations so that the landing gear of the helicopter fits right in there, so that it's stable in the truck. It doesn't just slide off when you're driving the truck around with the helicopter on the back. So on the underside of the truck, you can see this red switch right here. This is used to activate the lights on the truck. So you usually turn the switch on, and then the truck's lights are on. I'm going to show these lights to you in the dark in just a moment. So if you look at the bottom of the helicopter, we can see it too has a switch. And if you push the switch towards the back, the lights also come on, just like on the truck. Now again, I'm going to show these lights to you in the dark in just a moment. And if we push the switch to the forward position, not only do the lights come on, but so do the rotors. Now that is just cool. They actually spin quite fast. And what's really cool is that these little red lights up here actually blink when the rotors are spinning. And another thing that I like about this is that it actually has a safety clutch mechanism in there. So what you do is if you hit the rotors, the motor actually keeps spinning. I think this is partly to prevent the rotors from injuring or cutting somebody, and it also prevents the motor from burning up or the gears from getting stripped out if the rotors hit something. So that's a clever safety mechanism. And again, you might notice this red button on the side right here. So if you turn the switch to the lights only position and then you hold the button down, the rotors also spin, but only when you're holding the button down. So this kind of gives you a little more control over the rotors. You can turn them on and off whenever you want to without having to reach under there for the switch. But it only works when just the lights are on. In the off position, it does not work. And another feature this helicopter has is that this searchlight on the bottom here actually turns, so you can position it left and right and wherever you need to be able to see. This unfortunately brings us to the reason why I'm using the Wilco truck for the features segment of the video. So my Servco helicopter, it turns out when I got it, it actually still had the original battery from 1996 in it, and the battery had corroded, and it ruined this thing. Like, it not only got all over the battery terminals, but it actually got inside the helicopter. It ate the wiring and the switch up. So this thing is like ruined. Pretty much the only way I think it could ever work again would be if I like took a whole electronic more core piece out of a parts helicopter and stuck it in the shell. But with its current electronics, I don't think there's any way this thing will ever work again. So that's why I'm using the Wilco one for the features segment of the video. The truck is fine. The truck did not have any corroded batteries in it, so the lights work fine on the truck, but unfortunately the helicopter does not work. Alright, so we've got both the truck and the helicopter here in the dark with their lights on, and man, do these look cool. These are actually some very nice bright lights, and again, these look so real in the dark with the lights on. So here's the front of the truck right here. We've got the headlights, turn signals, clearance lights, roof cap, and even in the interior of the cab, all lit up right here. We got the driver's side of the truck with the Wilco logos and all these clearance lights lit up. We got the back of the truck with the other Wilco logo and all the tail lights and license plate. And then the passenger side. And even the Wilco logos on the top as well as the landing pad actually light up as well. And here's the helicopter. Here's another shot of the helicopter. And here's a look at that searchlight on the front. Unfortunately, I could not light the helicopter up, but here's the Servco one with its lights on. And a shot of it from the rear view as well. Okay, and here's a shot of both in the dark. Alright, so now let's talk about quality. So again, as with most Hess, Wilco, and Servco trucks, these are very high quality toys. They're built very tough. This appears to be very, very tough plastic. The construction of these toys is nice and solid. They feel very robust, like they wouldn't break easily. Probably the weakest point on this truck right here would be these mirrors. I could see them breaking off with very rough play. And possibly this ramp, although it's still pretty thick and sturdy. But yes, this is a very solid truck right here. The helicopter is also very sturdy. The body shell feels nice and robust, same with the tail. These rotors have got some nice flex to them, so they shouldn't break too easily. Probably the weakest point would maybe be the landing gear. They don't seem that flimsy, but I have seen a few people who have said that theirs have broken from very rough play. In fact, my Wilco helicopter, it actually was dropped or something like that once, and it actually cracked right here on the battery cover where the landing gear attaches. I managed to fix it with some super glue. But yeah, it did crack. That's probably the weakest point, but it's not like super flimsy. But overall, it's a pretty tough toy aside from those slight weak points like these mirrors. It does seem to be well done overall. The graphics on my examples do seem to be pretty nice and sharp. The chrome looks pretty good. Everything seems to be put together fairly well on these examples. And the attention to detail is nice, and they roll well. All the lights and sounds and everything, with the exception of the corroded battery in the Servco helicopter. That's not really the toy's fault. Everything else seems to work fine on all these right now. But I do have one buyer beware I'd like to point out. On both of these trucks, and this also applies to the 1995 Hess truck and helicopter as well. The lights on the cab of the truck often do not work on some examples, and I found that that was because the wire connection through the fifth wheel here is actually somewhat prone to breaking, because I think the soldering joint they used wasn't very strong. This isn't the case with all copies, but there are some copies that have that problem. I actually did have that on my Wilco one. The wires snapped and the cab lights went out after only like a couple weeks of me having it, but I was able to take it apart and actually fix it, and I soldered it with a much stronger joint than what I had from the factory, so I was able to fix it. So it can be fixed. If anybody has this problem with any of their trucks, just let me know. I'd be happy to maybe make a video, a tutorial on how to take this thing apart so you can fix it yourself. I'd be more than happy to do that, but that's just something to be aware of when buying these. Also, another funny quality control issue I noticed on both of my trucks is that this one doesn't look too bad, but this, maybe it's just meant to be that way. This light seems a little bit pushed in. I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be that way. Okay, maybe that may or may not be a quality control issue. But overall, these are some very high quality toys, and I would still not hesitate to recommend them. Alright, now for my final thoughts on these toys. As with most Hess, Wilco, and Servco trucks, these are very well-made toys. They look very good, they're very detailed and realistic, they're very rugged, sturdy, and well-built. And these ones in particular have lots of fun play features. They look, or they got like working rotors and lights and working ramp, and yeah, these ones are particularly exciting. These ones have a lot of play value. So would I recommend these? Yes, absolutely. If you can find one of these trucks for sale, definitely do buy one. Buy one for your kids, buy one if you're a collector. Anyway, just get one of these. You have to have one. So with that, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a nice day, and God bless.